Attack on Titan's final chapter has sparked massive debate and discussion as to its ending and whether or not it's any good. So here's my breakdown on this chapter and the end of Attack on Titan. The main takeaway, and the things I think this chapter does handle very well, are the things involving Eren. Eren had planned everything up to this point to make himself out to be this villain who would wipe out all of humanity, but would in actuality only kill 80% in order to make the Eldians seem like heroes who saved humanity from this world-ending threat, much like the Tiber family. I'd say this adds more to the story than it takes away. It confirms that all that Eren has done up to this point has served a greater purpose, and it recontextualizes everything that he's done up to this point since before the time skip. And it adds a valuable layer to Eren that was missing from before, and his whole character can now be seen in a completely different light. His old self was still intact, but he had to play this role. In order to ensure the survival of his people, he became a monster to be defeated by those he wanted to save. And by doing so, put an end to the power of the Titans, and gave Eldians hope to, maybe one day, coexist with what's left of the world in peace. I'd even go as far as to say that this adds some level of redeemability for Eren, as much as someone with the amount of blood on his hands can have, of course. And it's really rewarding to see that Eren was more than what he was shown to be all of this time, because reading through this arc, there was always this feeling that there was more to what was going through Eren's head and what he wanted to do than it seemed on the surface. This was something that I had hoped for a while now that the manga would address. And I'm glad to say that this is one aspect that the manga did deliver on. And I'm really glad we got this payoff, because it not only adds to Eren as a character, but it gives a meaningful resolution to Eren's character arc and his relationship with all the other characters. Something that most of the other characters didn't really get, unfortunately. But more on that later. An issue I had with some of the recent chapters was addressed in this one, thankfully, with the whole conversation that Eren and Armin had. We didn't really get Eren's perspective on things for a long stretch of chapters until this one, and I can see why Isayama did that in retrospect. It was just really weird going through all those chapters without any Eren introspection at all. But I'm sure that going through it all at once, now that all the chapters are out, it would be a lot less frustrating. And the whole thing about Eren guiding Dina Fritz to not eat Bertold, but to kill his mother so that everything can play out the way it's supposed to, it was out of nowhere and it was pretty funny, but I will say that it does confirm that a lot of the conveniences surrounding Dina were just Eren sending Dina to be at the right place at the right time so that everything could play out the way it was supposed to. But we could have figured that out without this reveal about Bertold and everything, but I mean, at least we have it confirmed now, I guess. It's a weird scene, but that's what I got out of it. There's also the reveal that what kept Ymir from being free was her love for King Fritz, and that it was Mikasa who, by choosing to kill the man who she loved, would give Ymir the inspiration and example to free herself from the power of the Titans. And this could mean many different things. I kind of wish it was elaborated on a little more so we can draw more from it. It definitely has to do with the fact that she's an Ackerman and the fact that she broke through her nature as one, but that's really all we have to draw from. I guess it's just one thing that's open to interpretation, as are a lot of things in this ending. But Mikasa being the one to free Ymir from that slavery is something that I can appreciate. I just wish her internal struggle was fleshed out a bit more, which would have made this aspect of the ending a whole lot more impactful. But now I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is Eren's feelings for Mikasa, and how he so shamelessly expresses them to Armin, and then tells Armin not to tell Mikasa. Eren's been getting clowned on a lot for this, but I think it adds some humanity to him that we really haven't seen in a long time. And it makes the previous chapter make a whole lot more sense with everything that's happening in Mikasa's head with Eren, and him having his heart-to-heart with her. And I think it makes Eren more human, more vulnerable, and more down-to-earth, and further goes to show that the facade that he's been using has not been easy on him either, and has caused him pain, to the point that After everything he's done and all the deaths he's caused, I don't think he believes that he deserves to live a happy life with Mikasa, which is part of the reason I'm sure Eren never shared his feelings with Mikasa until the very end of his life. Eren states himself that he wants to be with Mikasa and spend the rest of his days with his friends, but knows that there's no going back from what he's done, and he doesn't deserve that kind of happiness. But he wanted to give it to his people, which is shown from the fact that he communicated with all of his other friends, just like with Armin and Mikasa, and told them to live long and fulfilling lives. He left them with peace in their hearts after he was gone. Now, all of the Titans being reverted like that in one moment may seem a little anticlimactic or contrived, but with everything that had been set up in this chapter, I think it was well earned. Everything that Eren had planned up to this point had gone the way it had to in order for this result to be achieved. An issue with it was that it happened very quickly and it kind of undercuts the stakes set by the previous chapter. But I think a lot of people are overreacting as to that one issue. All of Levi's fallen comrades getting one last send-off from him was brief and really the last significant character moment Levi has, but it brings the idea of sacrifice and devotion among the Survey Corps full circle, which I'm glad we got. Levi had lost almost everyone close to him, but kept moving forward despite that, and lives as a testament to what the Survey Corps meant. There were certain plot points that didn't really go anywhere, like Historia's baby, which I guess could have symbolic meanings showing that there is hope for the Eldians to live on to the next generation, but as far as the plot goes, there isn't really any significance to Historia or her baby other than that. There are just some plot points and character arcs that didn't get any resolution. Gabby and Falco got pretty much nothing, and even though they're not my favorite characters by any means, I do think they deserved a proper end to their character arcs. Reiner doesn't get much of anything either. He talks to his mom, and then his last line is just him simping for Historia, which is even more embarrassing than whatever Eren said, that's for damn sure. Isayama really did Reiner dirty there. He really did. But Isayama did have a really difficult task of putting in as much as he could into this one last chapter, so I do give him some leeway for that. Though I do think there was value in leaving things as open-ended as they were. The possibility of war continuing on, just as it had before, is pretty realistic and hammers home the point that the cycle of violence and war may be something that's inherent to humanity. Or maybe we can eventually overcome it one day through mutual understanding and giving it enough time. Isayama doesn't give a clear answer either way. Just like Eren left the world in the hands of the Eldian survivors, the rest of the story is left in the hands of the reader, and I think that's something truly valuable. Many aspects of this ending were rushed, but the core ideas and character journeys that we got the conclusions of were enough to leave this series on a high note. For sure, this ending wasn't perfect, and I thought the last few chapters were so rushed that I wasn't sure if this one would even be able to give a satisfying conclusion. But Isayama put everything he had into making this ending as meaningful as he could have, and for that I'm thankful to him and to everyone who got me into this series. I wouldn't be here talking about it without you guys. I don't think this will be the last time I talk about Attack on Titan on this channel, but I hope you found this series worthwhile. It was a hell of a ride, and one I won't forget. A manga I definitely keep up there with my favorites. Feel free to give me any thoughts of your own, and thank you.